The wind howled through the empty streets as thick snow blanketed the ground. The houses stood silent, their windows glowing warmly from within, but outside, the world was cold and merciless. In the middle of this icy silence, a shivering figure slowly made its way through the frost-covered neighborhood. His paws ached from the biting cold, his fur was damp with melting snow, and his ribs pressed against his skin, revealing weeks of hunger. He had no name, at least not anymore. Once he had belonged to someone, once he had a home. But now he was just another forgotten soul, lost in a world too busy to care. He limped towards a porch light flickering in the distance, its glow casting a soft halo over the doorstep. His legs trembled with exhaustion, and every step felt like lifting a mountain. But the pain in his belly was stronger than his fear. He had tried before, approaching people, hoping for kindness, but most had turned him away, some with harsh words, others with indifference. But tonight he had no other choice. If he didn't find warmth soon, the cold would take him. He climbed the steps with unsteady legs and, gathering the last of his strength, raised a trembling paw. Then, with a weak but determined push, he knocked. Inside the house, Ellie sat curled up on the couch, lost in a book. The sudden sound made her look up, her heart skipping a beat. It was late, and she wasn't expecting anyone. Her fingers tightened around the blanket draped over her lap as she hesitated. The knock came again, softer this time, almost pleading. Slowly she placed her book down and stood, making her way to the door. Peering through the small glass panel, she gasped. There, just outside, stood a German shepherd, his eyes filled with something she couldn't quite describe. Hope, desperation, maybe both. His fur was matted, his ears drooped, and his body shivered violently against the cold. For a moment, Ellie just stood there, frozen in shock. Then instinct took over. Without a second thought, she unlocked the door and pulled it open. The dog took a step back, unsure, his body tense as if expecting rejection. But Ellie's voice was soft, warm. "Hey, buddy, it's okay." She knelt down, extending a hand. The dog hesitated, his amber eyes searching hers as if trying to decide if she was safe. Then, as if making up his mind, he took a small step forward. His cold nose brushed against her fingertips, and in that moment, Ellie knew she couldn't turn him away. "Come on," she whispered, stepping aside. The dog hesitated for only a second longer, before, with one last glance at the snowy night behind him, he took a shaky step inside. The warmth of the house enveloped him instantly, making his muscles tremble with relief. Ellie quickly shut the door, sealing out the unforgiving cold. As she turned to look at him, her heart ached. He wasn't just lost, he was broken. But something in his eyes told her he wasn't ready to give up yet. As the German shepherd stood there unsure and exhausted, Ellie made a silent promise. She didn't know where he had come from or what he had been through, but one thing was certain, he was safe now. And no matter what, she wasn't going to let him go back to the cold. The German shepherd stood motionless near the door, his body tense despite the warmth surrounding him. His amber eyes darted around the unfamiliar space, searching for danger, for an escape. The air inside was thick with the comforting scent of vanilla and cinnamon, the kind of smell that belonged to a home, a real home. But could he trust it? Could he trust her? His paws, still wet from the snow, left small puddles on the wooden floor, but Ellie didn't seem to mind. She crouched down again, careful not to move too fast. "You're safe," she whispered. "I promise." Her voice was gentle, but the dog flinched when she reached out her hand again. He had learned that hands could hurt. He had learned that kindness could be a trick. He had learned that people didn't always mean what they said. Ellie pulled back, understanding his hesitation. "Okay, no touching. That's fine." She got up and moved to the kitchen, leaving him alone for a moment. His ears twitched at the sounds of cupboards opening, the rustling of plastic, the clink of a bowl. His stomach clenched in anticipation. Food. real food. He had spent nights digging through trash, fighting off other strays for scraps, enduring kicks from humans who didn't want him near their bins. But this smelled fresh, safe. Ellie returned, setting down a bowl of shredded chicken. "It's yours," she said, stepping back. The dog hesitated, looking between her and the food. He was starving, his body screaming for nourishment, but the fear was just as strong. What if this was a trick? What if she changed her mind? He took a step forward, then another. Slowly, cautiously, he lowered his head and took a small bite. Warmth spread through him as he chewed, the taste overwhelming. It was real, no mold, no rot, just food. He devoured the rest, his body shaking with relief. Ellie watched, her heart breaking at how fast he ate. Whatever life he had lived before this, it had been cruel. "You must have been alone for a long time," she murmured. The dog licked the bowl clean, then lifted his head. For the first time, he looked at her without fear. A moment passed between them, silent, but full of meaning. He didn't know who she was, and she didn't know his story, but in that small, warm kitchen, something shifted. A fragile trust was forming, delicate as a thread, but there. Ellie smiled softly. "I think we need to find you a name." The dog tilted his head slightly, as if considering her words. She tapped her chin, thinking, "Something strong, something that suits you." She looked at him for a long moment, then nodded. "How about Rex?" His ears perked up. Something in that name felt right. Not because he remembered it, he had no memory of a name, but because, for the first time in forever, he felt like he belonged somewhere. "Rex it is," Ellie said, smiling. He wasn't just another stray anymore. He had a name. And maybe, just maybe, he had found a place to call home. The warmth of the house seeped into Rex's bones, easing the stiffness in his legs. He curled up on a blanket Ellie had placed near the fireplace, his body still tense, but no longer trembling. The crackling flames cast soft shadows across the walls, flickering like distant memories he couldn't quite grasp. He wasn't used to this. Warmth without pain, silence without fear. It felt too good to be true. Ellie sat nearby, watching him with quiet concern. She had always loved animals, but something about Rex was different. He wasn't just lost, he was haunted. The way he flinched at sudden movements, the way his eyes darted to the door as if expecting to be thrown out, it told a story she wasn't sure she was ready to hear. Outside, the wind howled, shaking the windows. Rex's ears twitched, his body stiffening. A sound, sharp, distant, echoed through his mind. The snap of a belt, the crack of a door slamming shut. A voice, deep and angry. He let out a low whimper, barely audible, but Ellie noticed. She scooted closer, careful not to startle him. "Hey, it's okay," she whispered. But his breathing had changed, faster, uneven. His tail curled around his body, his head lowering. He was somewhere else now, trapped in a memory she couldn't see. Then, as if on instinct, Ellie did something she hadn't planned. She reached out, not to touch him, but to place her hand near him, palm up. An offering, not a demand. Rex lifted his head, eyes locking onto her hand. His mind screamed at him to pull away, to expect pain. But something about Ellie was different. Her scent was steady, her voice soft, her movements slow and careful. He inched forward, hesitated, then let the tip of his cold nose graze her fingers. Ellie smiled, a lump forming in her throat. "See? No one's going to hurt you here." For the first time since stepping inside, Rex closed his eyes, not out of fear, but out of something close to peace. But deep inside, the shadows of his past still lingered, waiting for the moment to drag him back. And Ellie knew trust, real trust, would take time. The next morning, the world outside was covered in a thick blanket of white. Snow clung to the rooftops, tree branches sagged under its weight, and the streets were eerily silent. Inside the house, warmth fought back against the winter chill, and for the first time in a long while, Rex woke up without the ache of hunger gnawing at his ribs. Ellie stood by the kitchen counter, pouring herself a cup of coffee. She glanced toward the blanket near the fireplace where Rex lay, his breathing slow and steady. He had made it through the night without whimpering in his sleep. Progress, however small. But as soon as she moved, his eyes flickered open, his body instantly alert. The trust was there, but fragile. "Morning, buddy," she greeted, keeping her voice soft. Rex's ears twitched, his gaze cautious but not afraid. She set down a plate of scrambled eggs and bits of chicken, stepping away to give him space. He hesitated before creeping forward, sniffing the food carefully before eating. Ellie sat down at the table, resting her chin on her palm. "You know," she mused, "we need to figure out what happens next." She wasn't sure if she was talking to herself or to Rex, but he paused, lifting his head as if he understood. She sighed. "If you belong to someone, they might be looking for you." The words sent a ripple of unease through her. She had spent years volunteering at shelters, and she knew the signs. A stray without a past had a better chance of finding a home. But a dog with an owner? That was complicated. And something about Rex, his scars, his fear, made her stomach twist. Still, she had to try. It was the right thing to do. After breakfast, Ellie grabbed her phone and snapped a few pictures. "Missing dog post," she explained to Rex, though he only tilted his head. She uploaded them to local community groups and animal rescue pages, keeping the description vague. Hours passed. Messages started coming in, some from people simply wishing him well, others from those who thought they recognized him. But one message made her blood run cold. "I know that dog," it read, "and if he's with you, he's in danger." Ellie's hands trembled as she reread the words. Rex, sensing her shift in energy, let out a low whine. She looked at him, heart pounding. What had he run from? Who was searching for him? She wasn't sure what she had gotten herself into, but one thing was clear. Rex's past wasn't just painful, it was dangerous. And now, she was part of it. The end. Final message to viewers. This isn't just a story. It's a reality for countless dogs abandoned or mistreated every day. If you've ever seen a lost animal in need, don't turn away. A little kindness can change everything. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more powerful stories like this. Let's spread awareness and make the world a little kinder, one story at a time.